to start with a joke. At the Court of the Great King sounds like a great parody of the classical rock, but it isn't. The game is about courtiers living and struggling against each other at the court of Hellenistic monarch Antioch III or Antiochus III. We are in a Seleucid kingdom, and the game is about historical perspective. Sorry, not historical perspective of people participating in historical events, but this is the perspective of courtiers, not kings, not the main big names, just the courtiers who will try to use their participation to their own personal benefit. And so in this game, the players are trying to control the courtiers and gain glory and renown for themselves, because ultimately it's not the victory over the Romans that is important in this game, but rather to the fact whether our courtiers gain enough glory and whether they are holding important offices for themselves. Now, how this gaining glory and renown look in the game? In terms of components, we have tiles representing offices, and they range from chief minister, mm, being a general, treasurer. Those offices provide a way to score victory points. Other way to score victory points is to amass glory tokens, out of which we have 10 glory tokens total in the game. The glory tokens are obtained in at least two ways. The courtiers will be reacting to events, which once again in game terms it means that players can play cards to modify the glory available on the board. It's all negative. Maybe I should have shuffled the deck. Yes. So we can obtain the glory points for our courtiers. Or in the event deck, there are 6 total cards of so-called crises cards. And can you tell us a little bit about those, if I may ask you about it?
Well, these 6 crisis cards that we have in the deck are effectively skill checks that you can have your couriers attempt to resolve. That each of the crises has a different assigned skill between either military, diplomacy, or administration, and each of your couriers has abilities in each of those 3 skills. So you can end up as one of your actions when you do card play is attempt to have one of your courtiers resolve resolve a crisis card. If they succeed, then you get some sort of a bonus plus your courtier gains glory. If you fail, then the kingdom loses resources and your courtier actually will lose glory, gaining a penalty. So there's a risk reward mechanic built in.
And I wanted to point out in this moment that because players play as courtiers, there is a king on the board, and he is present here, but the game isn't about replicating his decisions or affecting him in any way. In the game terms, he represents the power of the Seleucid kingdom in terms of manpower, economy, and philanthropy or benevolence, let's say, prestige. We as courtiers, we have access to those abilities. We just have to make sure that we do not put too much stress over our kingdom, because losing resources in one category spell trouble. It's true that this is a game where one player will win when they will meet the victory conditions, but this is still a game where both players can lose. Whenever the one of the resource drops to 0, or whenever there are 1, 2, 3, and 4 active crises, As you may remember, there are 6 crises total. If they are left unsolved, the kingdom, no matter how glorious player you are, your kingdom will fall.
And going back to the courtiers, each player is representing a different faction at the court. And those are represented by two different sorts of influence tokens, blue and red. And for each courtier, you can end up with either a courtier that has no influence at all, at which point they have no token, or you can have a player that has only limited influence, which is the one face, or that has full influence, which is the two face. And so that a large part of the game is players going back and forth competing over influence with the members of the court. Because the 8 cards here are the members of the court.
The abilities of the courtiers that are under our influence, they can be used to our benefit. So once again, the game isn't about simulating any particular character or being an avatar for any historical, this is the wrong phrase, not an avatar. It's about basically simulating one particular historical character. It's really about using the courtiers to further your goals, which is to amass uh, as much glory as possible. And I want to say also that for this reason, in this game, following the historical script or the sequence of events from the long reign of Antioch the Great is not important. It's not as important as an our attempt to provide to players an interesting and ultimately replayable uh, experience for the players. Not everything that you may know from the history is going to happen in a single playthrough. Here we have 8 courtiers with abilities and different ratings, but actually there are 6 more courtiers waiting behind the. Oh my goodness! I have drank too much coffee. This is ridiculous. There are other courtiers that can appear in your games, and you may be just lucky enough to even find Hannibal of Carthage joining your court and fighting battles, maybe not against Romans, who knows. This is All of this is possible in this game.
And as far as the end game is concerned, each of the players is working towards earning victory points in the form of either glory tokens on the characters that they have influence over, or if they each title that a character under their influence has earns a victory point. So the game at the end of the game, once either you go through the entire card deck or you've placed all of the all the glory tokens onto courtier cards, that's when you score and find out who actually came out ahead. As long as the empire still exists and that you didn't run into an issue with resources being depleted to nothing or with too many crisis cards in play.
Ultimately, I believe that the card-driven mechanic allows us to provide, even with limited amount of action types, of a tension, what kind of decisions players do each round. It's not easy to control everything that is happening on the board, even though we do not have that many pieces. The deck is maybe limited, or part of it, because of this scarcity of resources, we achieved the design that plays quickly, and it is easy to replay the game twice, 3 times in an hour.
Yes, it plays pretty quick. So that is a good overview of At the Court of the Great King. And we hope that you had a good time, as much fun as we did, and hope you have fun playing the game.
Thank you.